Hello, I'm Dr. E. Barry Gordon, and this is the fifth in my series of educational videos on testosterone deficiency. No one disputes the fact that at some point in our lives our sex hormones, testosterone in men and testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone in women, begin to decrease, and that this loss progresses as we grow older. That would be like denying the existence of the menopause. There's also no meaningful disagreement that the deficiency of these hormones has some adverse effects on both sexes. For example, there's no argument about sex hormone deficiency causing menopausal flushing and mood changes, along with fatigue, weakness, and loss of sexuality in both sexes. The only points of contention are to what degree these hormone deficiencies adversely affect us, and whether or not they should be corrected by replacement. In this video, I'm going to present my view of the general role testosterone and its deficiency plays during our lifespan, and then look at the entire question of hormone replacement from a more biological point of view. Can we answer the questions? Do our bodies want these hormones replaced? Is it in our biological best interests? After we're born, our lives can be divided into three simple stages. First, we grow and mature and eventually become adults. The second stage is a highly variable period of time during which we enjoy a robust, active, healthy sexual existence. Then, inevitably, at some point we note some diminishing of our vigor. Our acute interest in sex becomes dulled a bit. We've entered the third stage, a steady downhill voyage into the physical and mental debility of old age. We may not want to admit it, but we all probably realize what's happening to us. I'd guess that what's been jokingly called the midlife crisis is our rebellion, as some part of our psyche can no longer deny this onset of aging and deterioration. I believe that it is the loss of testosterone that triggers the onset of this third stage. I believe that a major part of getting old is nothing more than the effects of our progressive loss of testosterone. I believe that effective replacement of testosterone could and would add many, many years of healthy, robust sexual life to our existence. Now, do our bodies want these missing sex hormones replaced? Let's start by looking at what controls the amounts of sex hormones in our body. The secretion of these hormones by the ovaries or the testes is regulated by the pituitary gland, the so-called master gland. It sits at the base of the brain, directly connected to it by nerve fibers, doing the brain's bidding. So we have this sequence of control. Acting under instructions from the brain, the pituitary secretes stimulating hormones, which in turn regulate how much sex hormone is produced by the ovaries or the testes. Now, what exactly causes us to lose our sex hormones? It's very important to understand that with very rare exception, the hormonal loss is caused by failing testes or ovaries, not because of anything to do with the pituitary or the brain. The testes and ovaries are becoming incapable of producing sufficient hormone, no matter how much they're stimulated. What reason exists to believe that our bodies do or do not want these hormones back again? There's nothing more us than our brains. No part of our body is more involved with or concerned with our health and our survival than our brains. So, since our brains have the ultimate control over the secretion of our sex hormones, and since our brains have our best interest at heart, how do they react when those hormones begin to fade away? Do they accept the effective death of our ovaries or testes without reacting? Without bothering to try to goad them into functioning again? Hardly. Our brains greatly turn up the production of the pituitary hormones which stimulate the ovaries and testes. In postmenopausal women, in their blood, these hormones from the pituitary can increase to as much as 600% higher than the highest levels that ever existed during their premenopausal adult lives. Indeed, one key element in diagnosing the menopause is the finding of very high levels of these pituitary hormones. The pituitary literally pours them out, as if desperate to reawaken the failing ovaries and spur them into again producing adequate amounts of sex hormone. The reality, for both sexes, is that it's a grasping for survival, because the loss of these sex hormones, especially testosterone, begins the process of physical and mental decline. Now, what makes me say that testosterone is necessary for survival? With a few moments' thought, it's obvious that before the development of weapons, individuals weakened by their loss of testosterone were far more likely to fall prey to a predator. Before the development of firearms, the more testosterone deficient man was physically weaker and certainly always at a great disadvantage. He wasn't likely to survive a fight with a sword or a spear against a younger man at his full strength. What about now? Is there any reason to believe that there's a testosterone-related survival issue today? Absolutely. As I discussed in video 3, within the past few years, 4 major research institutions have published separate studies clearly showing that men with more testosterone live longer than men with lesser amounts. I'm going to quote 2 of the conclusions again because I want to drive this point home. From a 2007 study from the University of California, San Diego. Quote, testosterone insufficiency in older men is associated with increased risk of death over the following 20 years, independent of multiple risk factors and several pre-existing health conditions. Close quote. From another 2007 study, this by the National Institute on Aging. Quote, age-associated decline in anabolic hormone levels, that's testosterone, is a strong independent predictor of mortality in older men. There's no question but that the onset of the loss of testosterone is the beginning of dying. There's no question but that our bodies are desperate to have those sex hormones back again. The refusal of the medical community to look at this issue with an open mind, their rigid insistence on ignoring this disease, is the great medical failing of our time. In my next video, number 6, I'm going to discuss getting your testosterone level checked. It's just a blood test, and it should be a simple matter. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The flaws of testosterone testing have had a catastrophic impact on our dealing with the disease of testosterone deficiency. Remember my website, www.thehiddendisease.com. You'll find a lot of information there, including the abstracts of over 70 medical studies and all the prior segments of this video series. Finally, as I ask at the end of every video, if you think this presentation has some importance, forward these videos to everyone on your email list and ask them to do the same. I'm Dr. E. Barry Gordon. Thank you for watching.